Hey, what is up everyone, it is your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at ARTEEZY Warden. This was the game he played against the Lions. This was actually from the series where he stomped the Lions with Warden, and I want to take a look at it because this is a hero I feel like is very good right now. I think Midas is in a great spot. All the items he buys are solid, and therefore I just want to go over what are the matchups that you want to look for, what are the item builds you need to go, how do you cast your spells in the lane, and how do you farm fast. I think these are the major questions for Warden that people really mess up on. And so yeah, let's hop right into it. But before we do, you guys have to break the like button for me. Just break it real quick. Smash it. Let's get this video to 2,000 likes. So if you see the video isn't at 2,000 likes, it would mean the world to me if you could click the like button. Now I know that's a high goal, but still, I would appreciate it a ton if we could go for it. Hey, what is up everyone? I want to let you know that over on the GameLeap website, I've been preparing a lot of content that is, in my opinion, fantastic. It's really going to help you get to the next level. A couple examples of them that you guys really should check out are, I just did a coaching session where I talked about Animage. I did another one where I talked about Void. I did another one where I talked about Terrorblade. I did another one where I talked about PL. And now recently one as well for Void Spirit. And these are very long, in-depth coaching sessions. So if you want content that is similar to my YouTube videos, but a little bit more in depth, right? More for like the try-hard player who's really trying to go pro and needs to get to the next level as soon as possible. You should click the link down below, sign up right now, and get that content. I think it's going to help you guys out a ton. Also, I just did a full course for Witch Doctor, and a bunch of other supports are coming soon. I did one for Ogre Magi not too long ago as well, so if you're a support player or an offlane player, don't worry, there's plenty of content. Oh, there was a live coaching session for Abaddon as well, so go check that out, and I hope to see you there. Now, let's get into the gameplay. So, first off, I want to briefly talk about the draft before we do anything else. So, he picked after a Io, Lina, Sven, Underlord. These are the heroes that he saw. Now, sure, in your ranked and all pick matches, it's a bit harder to see these type of heroes before you pick, but let's just go over the examples nonetheless. The reason why Io, Lina, Sven, Underlord is good for Warden is there's no proper gap close, right? They don't have any blink initiator. The only thing they really have at some point in the game is a Sven Axe, but even then that's much later on, and you can play around it if you're a good enough Warden, right? Like, I mean, not perfectly. Sometimes you'll just get smoke yanked and it is what it is, but you get the point, right? They don't have a proper hero to get onto the backline, which makes it a good Warden game. It's very similar to Sniper, Drow, Zeus. You know, it's sort of that mentality. And so yeah, in the lane, really the main thing that ARTEEZY does that I see a lot of Wardens not do is auto attack a lot. And I know it sounds very simple, but Warden has a very good attack animation and very good attack range, and therefore anytime the opponent steps into your wave or past a creep, you want to trade. You see what he's doing to Lina here? Lina steps next to the range creep, and so he gets a quick little auto attack in, which naturally is going to be favorable. So the next thing we should mention is his adaptation lane here. So there are actually laning stages where ARTEEZY will take multiple points in Flux, actually even taking Flux at 3 I've seen him do before. And the reason why this should be noted is it really depends on your lane. It depends what your hero does in that particular lane. So in this case, he's laning against an Underlord and a Lina. It's near impossible for them to trade. It just is, right? They maybe can when they get a lot of levels or if the Lina leaves the lane, but until then, anytime Crit tries to approach, the Lina's just going to stun him and take a bunch of damage, and therefore, it's a very hard lane to trade in. Also, as we see in this clip here, the attack speed is really, really good. This is one of the most underrated parts of this magnetic field, and the coolest thing here is the combo he gets with Tag Team. So magnetic field, it gives you 50 attack speed, which is a ton, and the Lina can't hit him or the Tusk right now, which just makes it a pretty favorable trade from what it used to be. And so this is a perfectly placed bubble, right? Hamskin has to try to run into it just to do anything. And at that point, it's already too late for him. Now this trade, it is a bit weird, it's sketch, but they do end up picking up the Lina kill, which in a hard matchup like this is very impressive. And it all comes down to the fact that he gets the bonus attack speed and evasion from the bubble. The next thing we should note is how you want to use spark rates, which in this case he's going to be throwing down ahead of the creeps. So basically anytime you want to contest a range creep or secure a range creep, or even just secure a large amount of farm, which is the case here, you should use the spark rates. You should also use spark rates to prevent people from running away. So let's say Crit wanted to go on S4 here, he should still throw a spark wraith behind him to allow them to chase him down, right? Spark rates slow. They slow for 0.5 seconds. For actually 100%, it's quite notable. So, you know, it's important to do this. So you can see right here, throws down the long-range Spark Wraith, which is going to prevent the Lina or the Underlord from properly contesting this, and it's going to get him a lot of CS. He also uses the Spark Wraith to secure the large creep in this camp. And so you can see the mentality there. And finally, the last thing I want to cover in the lane before we move on is how he uses magnetic field defensively, because this is another reason why I just think magnetic field is underrated. Most people, what do, guys? They go flux, they go 2-0-2, right? 2 points in flux, 2 points in spark rate. But magnetic field is so good in the safe lane in particular, because when you get gone on by these dual lanes, what you do is just put down a magnetic field like this, and there's nothing they can do. If they dive the tower, it's GG, right? They're gonna die to your spark rates, so it's just a great way to keep yourself alive for only 50 mana. Now let's move on more so towards the mid game and talk about the items that he purchased. So he went raindrops with wraith bands. I think he had occasional clarity. You know, if you're going very aggressive, you're going to need clarities, and then into a Midas. And this is where things really start to ramp up for Arc Warden and when you become really strong. And you can even see right here, he's just sending his clone into battle. Now in this case, it kind of overextends, but nonetheless, you just want to do a bunch of damage, get your Midas off, and harass the opponents with this extra clone. And this next play here, I'm just going to call it the ARTEEZY Classic. We're about 10 minutes into the game, and yet he's going to pull the small camp. And a lot of people might ask, well, why would you do this? Or most players wouldn't even think to do this. And the reason for that is just because the lane is hard. Arc Warden, while he scales well with levels, he doesn't become much tankier, right? Some heroes, when they get a bunch of levels, their abilities that make them tankier make them tankier, but that doesn't happen for Arc Warden. It doesn't happen for most safe laners like Animage or Terrorblade, and therefore you kind of want to start to dodge the lane. So pulling and keeping the wave back and making a rotation to the bottom side of the map like he does here is a very good play. Now why does he go bottom? Look at the map, right? This is a very important thing to understand for all carry heroes. If we look at the map, we see a Jakiro mid, this is a bug, we don't see the Sven, and we see the Underlord top. But most importantly, what do we see on his team? We see a Tusk with a very deep ward pushed up far, and Grimstroke in the same exact scenario. And that basically tells you that, hey, they were likely not bottom unless they've smoked to bottom. Which is possible, but likely they would smoke with the Jakiro if they were going to smoke, because they kind of need Jakiro, right, to kill people. And right here, I know I mentioned this beforehand, and I'm saying it again, but I just feel like this is one of the most underutilized mechanics in Dota. And what that is side pulling in the mid game. So in this case, he actually side pulls, and cool enough, he gets a stack as well at the same exact time. And yeah, it's just a really great play. Not only does it allow you to kill a medium camp faster, or a large camp in this case, sorry. It literally lets you kill it faster. It also pulls the wave back, right? What is safer, guys? Farming a wave here, or farming a wave here, right? The answer is pretty simple. One's closer to your tower. And therefore, this is just a great way to amp your farm. It really, really is. So keep this in mind, guys. The next thing that ARTEEZY does that I love, and the reason why I love it is, guys, I've played with a couple of Arc Wardens over the last few weeks, and none of them do this. None of them do this. I don't know why. It's so effective. It is so effective. By the way, he maxed out Flux. I think this is just his opinion on how to fight with Arc Warden. Flux is an ability that scales very well in terms of damage and slow, and so yeah, he maxes it out. Now, what the play is that he does that no one else does is defend towers and show up to early game fights that are on his side of the map with the clone. So as you can see here, he's going to TP the clone in, TPs it out of vision to avoid scaring off the enemy team. And when he does that, he's able to get a flux onto the Lina, right? Just gets a nice little flux onto the Lina and nearly solo kills her with just a clone. And then does actually get the kill with the clone. That's crazy effective. That's unbelievably effective, right? It's no risk, high reward. Also, it's going to allow your team to actually, do well in the early game. One big issue I see with heroes like Arc Warden and AM for a lot of players is that they feel like their team is just suffering while they're farming, which is true. But if you do this, your team will suffer a little bit less. So now we're just going to skip quickly ahead here to minute 19, and I want to briefly go over the items. He has a Grove Bow from neutral items, which is a great Arc Warden item. Of course, you do a lot of magical damage, even just with your Maelstrom, so Grove Bow is fantastic for, the attack range and the magic amp. Then we have Midas into Maelstrom into Boots of Travel. And the reason why he wants these Boots of Travel is just so he can stay mobile. It actually allows you to stay alive in fights, right? Your hero is very squishy, so you need to be very mobile and stay away from the enemy team. And of course, it allows you to send your illusion anywhere you want. So your illusion at max is a 40-second cooldown. Well, what does Boots of Travel make your town portal scroll cooldown? 40 seconds. And therefore, it lines up perfectly and allows you to, anytime you have an illusion, send it wherever you want. And you can push waves very, very aggressively. And that is why this item is so good. It's not mostly about the movement speed. It's actually mostly about the fact that you can split push better than anyone else with this item. And just to quickly show off what exactly I'm talking about as he pops his Midas once again, he summons the illusion, sends it bottom immediately, and the reason for that is because he feels like bottom is dangerous, right? And that's about it. He just sends the illusion there and is going to auto-attack the wave. It gets him a lot of farm and prevents him from having to push out a dangerous creep wave. And now for the main tip I can give in the mid-game of Arc Warden. The main tip I can give, besides farm really fast and learn to just take stacks, rip through the triangle, and push in waves aggressively, which is what he's been doing for the first 22 minutes of the game. I recommend it if you guys are going to play Arc Warden, study it in and out yourself. Load up an ARTEEZY replay, one of these games, study every little movement he makes. Obviously, I can't make an hour-long video, and therefore I need to keep it short. But you guys get the point, right? You just really want to be pushing in waves more than anything else, and even here, he's going to throw it on a Spark Wraith, trying to prevent the Roche from coming out, and sends an illusion down mid. And this is where Arc Warden becomes ridiculous. He puts the Mjolnir shield onto himself with the illusion, which is heavily underrated, and starts sieging the tower, right? And the Lina obviously wants to stop this. She wants to deal with it, but the crazy part is that with a Spark Wraith and a Flux and a couple of procs, he's able to kill her. Yes, I'm not kidding, he kills her. She just straight up dies. And that's terrifying. And do keep in mind that this Lina is not that underfarmed. She has a Yules, an Ironwood tree, a Magic Wand, all these items, right? And yet she still dies. So imagine the supports in your pubs that have no stats and just mana boots. They're gonna die every single time. Alright, upcoming here we're gonna see our first major engagement of the game, and I really like how he does this. So the first thing that he does is he actually baits his illusion. You can see that the Sven is actually going to Ags jump his illusion, and the reason for that is he just doesn't expect EG to be set up. But you can see EG is completely surrounding this creep wave, right? They're all here. And therefore, they're able to actually kill this Sven. So your illusion can be a great way to bait. In fact, he even pops the BKB just to allow himself to get off his spells, get off his magnetic field, get off the illusion. And yeah, the Sven ends up seeing, oh my gosh, they're here, but it's too late. He's going to end up going down, the IO relocate gets used, and now he can TP in with this main hero. And this is what you want to do, guys. You want to be very, very active with your clone. Most people, what they do wrong is they aren't active with their clone, right? Also, another thing that people do wrong is they always just come in and they lead fights with the real hero. You want to lead fights, bait things, kind of scout things out with your clone, and then follow up with your main hero after that. Another great thing to do as a quick little tip is anytime you're pushing a tower, you want to set up Spark Wraiths at any sort of TP point. They get vision, and therefore it's a really broken mechanic that Arc Warden has. Now, upcoming here is a great example of how to fight just against team comps that can kill you if you go out of position, right? He does have the BKB at this point in the game, so he can go pretty aggressive, and we'll see even here he's going in with his main hero. The reason for that is that he knows he can't get jumped right now. He sees the majority of the enemy heroes. The only person he has to be concerned about is the Sven, unless Sven is right here. Oh, so Sven's right here. So there's no one he has to be concerned about, right? He knows where everyone is, and therefore he can lead in with his main hero, especially because he has BKB. And so that's what he does. He pops the BKB early, so he can't get used or anything like that, leads in with the illusion, shreds the Lina, pops that illusion next, drops the Flux, and actually is going to use the Spark Wraiths to zone out anyone who might run at him afterwards. So he's going to actually place these Spark Wraiths in front of the Jakiro, and it also would prevent anyone from coming in and going on him as well. Then the next thing you want to typically do is throw down a magnetic field just for the attack speed amp, and he actually starts to run away with his main hero, right? Very important to note. He runs away with his main hero. When the BKB duration is ending, you die really, really easily. Arc Warden dies really easily. And therefore, if you do not have a BKB, you either do not want to show up with your main hero at all, or you need to kite away when the BKB is starting to end. And then he's going to just simply let his other illusion from the side of the fight clean up. He's using Spark Wraiths with his main Arc Warden as well. And the way you do that, right, the way you switch between your main Arc Warden and your second Arc Warden is the next unit hotkey, or you can set a control group. Either one is fine. And yeah, because he separated the fight really, really well, they pick up the kill onto the mid Jakiro. Yes, that is a mid Jakiro, and they win the fight. Let's quickly go over the talents before we move into the last fight of the game. So level 10, he took the Flux cast range. As you guys can see, he doesn't bother even taking health. He knows if he gets jumped, he's probably just going to die in the early game. So you take the Flux cast range so that you don't get jumped. You can get your spells off and use the max out Flux that you took in combination with this talent and stay alive. At level 15, he likes the CDR. This is just great for Midas, your bots, your spells. I mean, you have so many active items and spells on Arc Warden, it makes sense. At level 20, he takes the attack range, and at level 25, he takes the Spark Wraith damage. Now, sometimes people at level 20 will take 1.5 seconds in Spark Wraith. This probably was just because he wanted to make sure the Sven couldn't catch him, and that's likely the only reason. Also, he has to be the siege hero for his team, and having attack range to do so is very good. So Those are the reasons I can see for this. And now in terms of items, he bought a butterfly and a satanic. He also had the MKB from earlier. That was after the BKB. And these are just kind of solid items. If you don't know what to go, this build he has right here is going to be good in almost every single game. And now to end off the game, let's see how he plays this last fight. The positioning is very important, as well as the spell casting. So he's TPing in here, his Doom backs up to make sure he doesn't have to overextend, and is immediately going to start throwing down Spark Rates. And this is just to scout out vision and cancel things like blinks. Right, it's also just good for the damage. So here, Ramses went in, kind of missed his blink, but he's going to cast that literally global flux. It's insane how far it goes. Really can bait the enemy team into fighting. Then he's going to spawn off his illusion, going to send that one much further forward. He's going to spawn more Spark Rates with both of his heroes, constantly switching in between them to cast the Spark Rates nearly off cooldown, puts down a magnetic field to keep the Doom alive, who he thought was going to get jumped, and sends in his illusion. This is important because most people, what they do is they just kind of have both of them on top of each other, right? They run together. That's how you get hit by a bunch of AoE spells and instantly die. What you want to do is what he's doing here. Keep this gap, stay to the side, and prevent yourself from getting jumped. Even here, the Sven knows he has to jump ARTEEZY, right? It's a very clear understanding. Sven knows it, ARTEEZY knows it, and therefore he's always paying attention to where is Sven. Sven tries to go in and catch him off guard, but ARTEEZY is obviously good enough to see that coming and absolutely shreds the Sven. And yeah, that's going to be about where today's episode ends. If you're looking for one hero to just spam and master, Warden is really, really good. If you get down the farming, the split pushing, the spell casting for Warden, which is brutally hard, you will become a MMR monster. But thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, I hope to see you in the next one. I hope you like and subscribe. And yeah, peace. Before you leave, just want to say a quick message. If you're trying to get better at Dota or you just enjoyed that video, I know this is pretty general, and you're going to hear this quite a bit from me, but I recommend you sign up to GameLeap.com. Why? Because I put a lot of effort into the content over there, and generally the effort I do there is different from the content you're going to see here on YouTube. It is different. In fact, I usually go a lot more in depth on topics or into niche topics that help you get to the next level even faster, because on YouTube, I often have to keep it more mainstream, and that's even why I'm putting it at the end of this YouTube video. That's why this is at the end, because a lot of people just watch 5 minutes, they skip through just for like the dopamine spike. But if you are interested in actually getting better at Dota, I recommend you go to the description down below, get your discount right now by clicking the link, sign up, use the discount code that you're gonna see there, and I hope to see you there right now, so click it, and yeah, thanks for watching.